You seem a little low today, though.
Namaste everyone, how's it going? So we are back with another solo episode of Naked with Sirhud. So whatever I'm doing solo is naked. I need the coffee to hit me so that I can stop making the lame jokes. But no worries, first thing in the morning, we are opening up the most lovely app of insecurity. It's called Instagram. And I'm going to go through some comments based on, your requests for whatever you guys wanted me to speak about on the podcast. So let's dive straight into it. Why we face so many difficulties while changing our identity and ourselves as a person. Why is there so much of internal friction? You talked about it on YouTube. This is actually the first comment I've written. This is fantastic. This is by a guy called Yash Talreja. His question is basically, why do we face so many difficulties while changing our identity and ourselves as a person? Why is there so much of internal friction? So this is a fantastic question, and actually on this couch itself, a few days ago, I was with a lovely lady to whom I was telling something where, she's like in her mid-40s, I think. And, I think the lesser the details, the better. But basically she was going through a particular phase of life where she's been living a particular way for a while, but she wants to live in an even better way, and she's not able to make that transition. Alright? So the first doubt which we normally have as a human being to live a new kind of life is whether we have the capability for that transition or not. Alright? That is normally the first one. The second one, which is actually the main crux of this question which Yash has put forward, that why do we find the difficulty while changing our identity and ourselves as a person. Now I'll tell you why. Think of yourself as a storybook. To put it in the most simple analogy, think of yourself as a novel where every chapter is revealing a new side of the protagonist, which is basically you. Alright? So if you are the main character of that particular story, and with every chapter there is a new side to you being shown. Now, this does not mean that this side, for example, the second chapter side is completely disconnected from the first chapter. It's not that, you become a totally different human being into the new phase of life. It's just that you adapt to the new character that is demanded by you for that new life. So, let me break this down a little bit. There's some little heavy shit first thing in the morning, but alright. So think of yourself as someone who is acting in a movie and all the characters are being played by you. Alright? And what happens is that sometimes you need to be a good guy, sometimes you need to be the bad guy, and in your own personal life you might need to be the bad guy simply to protect yourself for a while, be selfish for a while, do things only for yourself for a while. And then on the other hand, you might sometimes need to be the good guy in order to, ensure that you're doing what you're supposed to do as a conscious human being and, think about others and all that fucking godly crap. But it's needed, right? So when you have to switch from one character to the other, normally a lot of us get very comfortable in our existing character and get very comfortable in that because it's become routine, right? So breaking routine is always an issue, whether it's a bad routine or a good routine. It's always an issue because we like to remain the way we are. That is just our nature as animals or human beings or whatever. I think even in physiology or something they call it homeostasis. That the organism tries to maintain its internal state of health or some shit. I don't remember much, but the same way I think the ego, if we bring in a little bit of again Jungian kind of psychological stuff over here, the ego likes to remain in control of the character that it is currently playing. Whereas let's say what you want to do next in life, or what your family needs from you, what your partner needs from you, demands a new character, then the ego is what creates the resistance between you going from this side to that side of your own character. Because it's not like you have to completely leave the previous character and become a totally different person. This is where most people go wrong, because most people think that in order, like, for example, we talk about entrepreneurship and, getting people to, or not even necessarily entrepreneurship, even I think in a career, in a job, somebody can be entrepreneurial, because it's not necessary to live the entrepreneurial life just by doing your own business. I don't think so at all. I think even in a career, you can do it. It just matters on finding the right people to work with, the right boss, the right team, all those kind of things. But coming back to thinking that, okay, if I need to do a business, I need complete self-discipline, I need to say no to everything, every distraction, and I need to, completely zone in on this character who is the hustle character. That is bullshit, in my opinion, simply because you are enforcing yourself into a completely new character and removing your old character, which you do not need to do. What we as human beings need to understand when we are trying to build our identity or trying to build our individuality, as we talk about in the Freeman ideology, that pillar is very, very important to be looked at as a spectrum of who you are. And basically what you do is that you swing to different ends of the spectrum. First in macro cycles, like for example, I did it in macro cycles. From one cycle of my life was being an athlete and being living a very disciplined life. Then one cycle of my life was going into the Vanvas stage or the exile stage that we have spoken about on YouTube, where basically I was being kicked in the ass and 3 years straight, only vertical learning curve, horrendous depression, because, everything seems to be against you, everything seems to be whatever. So that was a different phase, this was a different phase, and always I've tried to excel just in that particular phase or the demands of that phase. So what I forget in that particular process is that I'm disintegrating who I am myself, alright? Whereas all I simply need to do is switch on and switch off different abilities within that spectrum of who. What I meant was that, simply based on which ability I need to use right now, I can. Now I'm like much better that in the same day I can be a lover, I can be a working man, I can be a leader, I can be a student, because I'm definitely learning something or the other every time. I can be a mentee of a mentor, yet I can be a mentor of other people. So I'm living multiple roles through the same day, but yeah, that ease of transition was never there. Alright, it was incredibly difficult, and it was definitely something which takes time for someone to get used to, because it's a process that first you go through in major long-term cycles, and then you have to learn how to compress it into short-term cycles for your own life. All right. So this was me just explaining the internal mechanism of why there is resistance when you're trying to build your own identity by imbibing new qualities or new characteristics into who you are as a person. But coming back to Yash's question, which is that, why do we face that difficulty? It is because we ourselves sometimes resist from going into that new capability of ourselves. Because on one side there is fear, on one side there is laziness, and what happens is that those things come in the way of you gliding into the new character without pain. Because for a lot of people, getting into the new character means shedding another part of your ego, and that could be the part which likes approval and appraisal by people. That could be the part which likes security and comfort when it comes to, let's say, your money situation. That could be the part which likes certain kinds of lifestyle habits such as alcohol or, smoking weed or this or that. But what happens is that when you realize that you're in conscious control of that novel, of that storybook, that you are the writer and you are the protagonist in that own story, then you fucking realize that you have your own boat, you have your own ship, and you decide how to sail it. And when you start understanding that level of control that you're supposed to have within yourself, or like that you're capable to have within yourself, that is when the process becomes easier of going from one character to another. So I hope I've been able to break down Yash's question as to why there is a difficulty when we are trying to change ourselves as a person. And what I'm going to do is that for this solo episode, I'm going to wrap it up over here. If you have any requests, please log on to my Instagram. It is SIRHUD.KALRA. Thank you so much. Signing out.